All right. You are now watching the He Say She Say Sports Show. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm your host, King Ralph, here with the homie Kai.
What's up, guys?
We're bringing this to you by Fit Boxer Studio. See it at the bottom of the screen. If you ever wanted to book a session, call the number at the bottom, 707 Fit Boxer. I repeat, 707 Fit Boxer. And we're just going to jump right in today. Trade deadline passed up. Got some interesting trades that went through. At the end of all of that, was there a trade that surprised you?
Okay, we're referring to this NBA, the
NBA,
National
NBA.
Basketball Association, James Naismith, Peach Baskets. All right. You said surprised me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I'm going to say a trade that didn't happen surprised me. How about that?
Okay.
The lack of a rim protector by the Boston Celtics. Now, the Boston Celtics are a team that last year, if we remember, was devoid of interior paint protection. And we thought that they could use a guy like a Hassan Whiteside or, even though he was on another team, but we could use the players of that ilk, the Rudy Goberts of the world, even the Andre Drummond. So the fact that they didn't go out and make a move in that area was kind of surprising to me. But then again, once again, Danny Ainge pump fakes more than Dwayne Wade past his prime. So that was one of those things where I was like, you know what? How did they not go out and get a rim protector? I was shocked. I believe they got, I want to say it was Evan Fournier, right? Was it Fournier on that team? Yeah. And Fournier is a nice piece. He's a nice piece, but he doesn't.
And they got Mo Wagner.
Right, yeah, they did get Mo Wagner, who used to be on the Lakers as a Laker fan. But he, I thought they could have done more in that aspect. But I was also surprised by the Bulls. I like their aggressiveness on the trade market to get a Nikola Vucevic from Orlando. I believe that he's going to be a big help for you guys in terms of not having Zach LaVine, have to carry the whole entire offensive load, or should I say the majority of the offensive load. I expect his usage rate to go down a little bit, and then he'll be a little more fresher in the fourth quarters and that thing of that nature. So those are two of the trades that actually surprised me. I knew that the Chicago Bulls needed some interior presence because Zach LaVine, like we've mentioned before, has mentioned that he wanted to be paired with a pass-first point guard as well as a dominant big man. But the fact that they were able to go through, be able to get it to actually happen, was surprising to me. So those two trades, that one trade and that one non-trade by Danny Ainge, the pump faker GM of the Boston Celtics. I guess my Lakers horns are showing, but yeah. All right, how about you, man?
I'm definitely gonna go with the one that surprised me the most was the Nuggets. And I anticipated them getting some type of help, but I did not anticipate them getting like a JaVale McGee back.
Ooh.
Or being in the hunt to even try to go after Aaron Gordon like they ended up getting. And so with those two, I think that was really surprising. To bring up something that you talked about, the Celtics getting a Mo Wagner, he does so much. Like he protects the rim, not at a high clip. Like he's not by means no Jared Allen, but like he's a legit 6'10", 7 foot big that can stretch the floor, and he has good skills. And so I think so. I don't want people to downplay that one.
Oh yeah.
He is one of those people that was a young talent coming into the league a couple years ago. So at this point, he should be about where we'll see what type of pro he'll end up being. Okay. I wouldn't be surprised maybe if they go and get Robert Williams the starting spot, or if Mo Wagner ends up getting that starting spot. So with that, I'm kind of cool with that trade. But to go back to the Nuggets, like we talked about earlier, you can kind of have too many chefs in the kitchen.
Yes.
To a certain degree, to use your term that you used earlier, when we were in the car earlier. So with that, you got a Jokic, you got a Jamal Murray, you got a Michael Porter Jr., you got a Bol, Aaron Gordon, Will Barton. And so with that, you could kind of start having too many people wanting to get their shots. And so with that, I'm kind of curious to see how that works out with them.
Right.
I was kind of curious to see if the Lakers went after anybody, or were they just going to wait and see what happened with the buyout market? For people that don't know, they signed Andre Drummond.
Yes.
So with that, I want to see how that works when LeBron and AD come back from injury.
Right.
I think that's going to be a really big piece. With that one, was there a trade that you've seen that your previous prediction of who would get to the finals or who's going to make noise in the playoffs, does it your predictions change, or is it just straight up?
Yeah. So my predictions don't change, and I'm not going to make any actually excuse me, my predictions have changed, excuse me.
Okay.
But I was going to say, I was going to be very direct. I'm not going to like kind of beat around the bush on it. At the beginning of the year, if we go back, I said Lakers and Brooklyn Nets, right? But the Lakers had to be healthy. This is before AD got injured, right?
Right.
Then once AD got injured and dealing with an Achilles, and I don't want to project my stuff on another player, but I've dealt with Achilles and stuff like that. Neither of us had, torn ours, but the Achilles injury is something that you cannot play with. So I think the consensus, at least I can say the consensus is, you have the stability force of LeBron James, you have Anthony Davis, if they're healthy, but they needed a rim protector. That was all they really, quite honestly, all they really needed was a rim protector. So once they got that rim protector, I was like, okay, this is good. This is good, as they say, right?
Right.
But then I was like, okay, who is their real threat? Their real true threat, with all due respect, the Nuggets. I know they went to the Western Conference Finals. It was the Clippers, because they were paraded around last year like they were the '96 Bulls, you know.
Right.
But they weeded out the Montrezl Harrells of the world. They traded Lou Williams, a defensive liability, and a lot of people forget he's a historically poor playoff performer, and they were able to get Rajon Rondo.
Right.
Playoff Rondo is very real. Laker fans,
more real than playoff P.
Right, exactly. More real than playoff P. And you know what? They call him Pandemic P. What if Rajon Rondo is going to vaccinate him?
Oh, snap. I see what you did there, bro.
He might vaccinate him. He's the vaccine, right? So I think
FDA approved, though.
Right, yeah, FDA approved. And I'm looking at him, and my thing is, you always want to keep one eye on the Judas, one eye on the enemy, right?
Right.
So I watch all Lakers games and I watch all Clipper games, and I'm like, they're moving like the Spurs of old in terms of ball movement, 3-point shooting. Historically, they're actually, like, I guess, the number one offensive efficiency like in NBA history right now. That is not a lie. That's actually true for the Clippers.
Oh wow.
So yeah. I heard about it this morning too, and they went off on the Bucks without PG last night.
Right.
So I'm looking at Rondo to be that elusive vocal leader that they didn't pick up in free agency, and everyone thought either him or Chris Paul, but Chris Paul was obviously too expensive. Right. So now they got it. So it's like, what else do you want? Well, you would want Ibaka to be healthy. So I think now they can go and play my team 7 games, and may the best man win. You know what I'm saying? May the best man win. So I think that the Lakers, if they're not fully healthy, they could possibly be in trouble. But I think for the Clippers, it comes down to Paul George. And for the Lakers, I know what I'm getting out of LeBron James. I know what I'm getting out of AD if healthy. But can KCP get back on that hot streak?
Right.
Because I'm starting to see guys like Luke Kennard get hot. When last year it was KCP for the Lakers. So I'm starting to see kind of a switch there. And then in the East, the Eastern Conference, this here's the thing with the Celtics. The Jason Tatum, if I'm not mistaken, the stat, I think he's been in 3 of the last 4 Eastern Conference Finals, or 4 of the last 5 Eastern Conference Finals since he's been drafted. So people always automatically say, oh, the Nets are, in the NBA Finals, but they never talk about who's going to face them in the conference finals, right?
Right.
So I'm looking at, the Celtics possibly still being able to, maybe hit a stride, down the road and reaching there. And then some people are like, well, that's not necessarily super like a leap prediction. But when you look at teams like Miami and their mental fortitude and the fact that they got Victor Oladipo, I don't think that's a shoo-in this year, right? So I would say, I think the Celtics are kind of playing in the back burner. So those are the two things. But in terms of the changing, I would say the Nets. I still have the Nets, Ralph. And I think the Lakers is just, can we get healthy?
Right.
It's just like, because I don't know what is with AD. Just like we don't know with KD. Like I don't know how long they're going to be out.
You never know, man, because it's
Like
I think that was one of the things that
Mhm.
I give credit to Bill Belichick for is
Mhm.
when it comes to injuries.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to be telling you like the full extent of my injury, so you can go out there and game plan for it.
That's true. That's true.
And so like with that, I would keep that one real close to the hip.
Okay.
Just like AD and KD, I definitely would keep that one close to the hip.
Mhm.
Because it leaves that doubt. Because then you're like, all right, maybe he's more hurt than what they're telling, or
Right.
it could just be they're 17-3 in the last 20 games. So why do I need to rush back?
And I was going to say something to this. I'm sure we've heard the rumors of them possibly acquiring the Lakers. That is a wing piece, or they were on the buyout market. And I was thinking it's interesting because AD plays the 4, sometimes the 5, but he's the 4. So I'm like, wouldn't you want another power forward? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but either way, you can tell that they're trying to get another offensive minded piece. And so that's why I'm like, I think I would feel more secure if we had that one more piece. I even heard people say, Avery Bradley, and people are like, oh, I don't want Avery Bradley back. Man, Avery Bradley was good for us.
Right.
He's, and he went to Finley Prep out here. Shout out to Finley Prep in Vegas. But yeah, so we'll see, man. But like I said, I tell people all the time, what you're getting out of LeBron James in a Game 7. He's the greatest Game 7 performer of all time. It just is what it is.
Right.
So yeah.
You can say what you want about that, but like Jordan didn't really get to Game 7,
right? Exactly.
So, like, I mean, LeBron, but it's proven. The proof is in the pudding,
right?
They say. Yeah. But for me, I think that with the trades, I wanted to bring up. I think that Oladipo trade is going to be real big for them. The versatility that he's able to do, being able to guard so many multiple positions and get you a bucket when you really need it. He's hit multiple game winners.
Right.
As a Bulls fan, I can definitely attest. He's a clutch performer.
Okay.
I don't know what it was about that Chicago Bulls red that he would see when it was like 30 seconds less.
That's a rivalry
left in the fourth quarter. It's like, hey, bro, I'm about to get this dub. And it was every time I was just like, man, I'm nervous. And so I'm glad to no longer have him in my division. So with that one, I think that the Heat are the one thing that I kind of get nervous as far as that, and we've talked about this a lot, is when it comes to the young players. When you give them such a long leash 1 year and then snatch it back to where now Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn are now coming off the bench where they were such prominent players in your finals run the year before, what does that do to them psychologically?
Right.
So like that, I'm kind of worried about that. I'm kind of curious to see what direction they go as far as that move. Rondo being traded to the Clippers for Lemon Pepper Lou.
Lemon pepper.
Lou gets all the lemon pepper he wants now.
Facts.
Homegrown in Atlanta.
Facts.
Rondo being that integral, prototypical point guard, pass first point guard to set up the offense, play good defense. And then we've seen what he does offensively from getting a bucket and clutch buckets too.
IQ.
And high IQ.
And they have Chauncey Billups on that staff, by the way. Just want to add that.
Hey, Chauncey, big shot Billups. Maybe some of that Luke, he could trickle down to some playoff P instead, so he won't be pandemic P no more.
Right, the vaccine. Get it vaccinated. Get your vaccine.
I hate that y'all doing my man like that.
Hey, that's one of my favorite players too, bro.
And so but he put it on himself, man. You can't just be out here giving yourself your own, what do you call it, nicknames. You can't give yourself a nickname.
Right,
even mine my moniker that I go by, King Ralph, someone gave that to me. So like it wasn't like somebody called, like I called myself that. Someone called me that and then I ran with it.
I like that, man.
With that,
see,
like
I don't need a nickname, but
right.
Let me stop.
But for me, like I went Clippers Nets in the finals. So like for me, nothing's really changed. It's just only been more, what do you say, reaffirmed for me. Right. It's just been like they put a stamp on it. Like LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin going to the Nets, and then Rondo going to the Clippers. How well the Clippers have been playing, even though they've obviously, everybody's said that they need a point guard,
right? A
legit point guard, not just like a Patrick Beverly that's going to be out there playing really good defense and just being a suspect on offense. So like with that, I'm still holding firm to that.
I can respect that.
But like I said, I'm a big fan of the Suns. With the 4 pieces that they have, I know they have bench problems, but I think if you stagger if you stagger people's minutes, because really in the playoffs, what you run about 7, 8 deep.
Yep.
So it's like
Some
if I
players
can
don't even play.
right.
Like
So
Dwight Howard didn't play last year.
so if I run and staggered all 4 of their minutes to where 2 of them are playing with each other at a time, so we can do it like a Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton. You can do a Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, or you can do Chris Paul and Bridges, Dev and Bridges, and fill in the rest of the roster, but then just keep at least 2 of them on the court at all times. Where like a Devin Booker and Bridges and Ayton, they're all 25 younger,
right? They're young, so they can
so
play,
they can run hella minutes.
Right. Yeah.
And so like with that, you can give them all the minutes. And so with that, I'm kind of curious to see what happens with the Suns.
Right.
The Jazz, I'm still gonna go out and say like, for me,
they're peaking.
They're peaking, but I don't care what you do in the regular season. I need to see you do that in the playoffs.
Right. And I think I wanted to add with the Jazz is I watched them play the Clippers, the team that you have coming out the West, and it like they beat them before, and it's the fact they don't have that other piece.
Right.
And it's funny because true story, I actually picked the Jazz as Western Conference Finals. This is preseason. Before the Clippers did, last year. This is last year. I'm talking about last season, because they had they upgraded from Rubio to Mike Conley, and then they had the rim protector. They had Bojan, but Bojan got injured, right? So then, now he's coming back. But now look at the Clippers, and the Clippers have gotten better. So a lot of those pieces that me and you talked about, even with our homies, like, oh, Nicholas Batum, he moves slow as a sloth. Luke Kennard, you paid him $64 million. Oh, now he's hot.
Right.
Marcus Morris, he's been hot, which actually Marcus Morris makes some clutch baskets, bro, and he can create his own shot. And then you add Rondo to the mix. But as a Laker fan, I'm a Laker fan who I always tell people I'm objective. My favorite player doesn't even play on our team, right? It's Kawhi Leonard, so people want to burn me to the stake to that. But I mention these things because like I'm looking at them, and so you saying Clippers and Nets, there's no problem with that, because I'm looking at the Lakers, and I know a lot of people hype the Andre Drummond thing. I want people to know this, and I got the camera on me. All right, Laker fans, Laker Nation, Laker faithful. Do not expect Andre Drummond to be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Do not expect Andre Drummond to be Hakeem Olajuwon or Wilt Chamberlain easy. Look, Andre Drummond is this. He's a nice, tenacious rebounder. He can block some shots. He's not even like Hassan Whiteside in that area, but he can rebound the heck out of the ball, which is good against jump shooting teams like the Clippers, which is good against a jump shooting team like the Brooklyn Nets. But he will fail you in crunch time because he has no 3-point shot, and he missed 23 free throws one time in a game, an NBA record that still stands to this day. He's a liability at the free throw line, and he shoots 48% from the rim.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's not even just like, oh, he's not he's just from field goals, he's shooting like 48%. You need to get that up to like 57, 60, big boy. But sometimes when you play with other great players, right, they can bring certain things out of you. You know what I'm saying? So for me, for the Lakers, they have to be healthy. That's all I can stretch. If they're healthy, I think on paper, it's a situation when the Clippers are the better team. Like the Clippers, I'm just going to be real. They're the better team. But with the healthy, that psychological thing with LeBron and AD and all that kind of stuff, and having won championships is what's going to put the Lakers over the top, I would think, right? And then my final thing is this. If I'm the Clippers and I have Paul George, right, and we're playing any team in the Western Conference Finals or to get to the Western Conference Finals, a place they haven't been for 30 years, mind you, okay? Do you want Steve Ballmer sitting there front row in a chair with his arms folded and you're Paul George in the playoffs? No one ever talks about that. No. That's pressure, right?
Yeah.
So there we go, man. So maybe Steve Ballmer should sit up in a press box during the playoffs, man.
I don't know, man. Like I think for me, I'm so competitive, that like.
But that's mental with him,
that
man.
energy that Ballmer gives.
But that vaccine might have adverse effects, man. If he sees Ballmer, he's like, oh wait, no.
That energy that Ballmer has, like when you're succeeding, like he's 100% out there slapping fives with the fans, out here just going geek, just being dummy out here. But
when he's mad,
I mean, you still got to hoop though. Like it don't matter who is on that sideline, bro. Yeah. But
I didn't want to go too long.
To kind of jump into what we're going to end up talking about. Anyway, we brought up the Nets.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, with them signing all of these older vets who used to be all-stars, is there enough parity in the NBA now?
Okay, so I'm gonna be honest with you. Was there ever really parity in the NBA? And this is me kind of answering the question. Was there ever really parity in the NBA? Because we had
I do think going into the season there was some parity because it really was up in the air. There was no like Laker fans was like, oh yeah, we definitely running it back. But like for me, I really looked at it like the Clippers could have won. With we needed to see what happened with the Bucks and with them getting Drew Holiday, like how well that played out. Then at the point it was just KD and Kyrie, and then a bunch of very, very good pieces. I still would have picked the Nets to win, but it wasn't a lot.
It wasn't a lot,
or like like many people think it is now. Right.
What's Kyrie? Like, I feel.
And then the Heat, are they able to capitalize on the run they took last year? Are they able to do it again? So it was up in the air.
And players be getting in shape because I'm gonna be real. Like my favorite player, man, looked kind of chubby. Kawhi looked kind of chubby out there. I was like, yo, Kawhi, man, what you doing? Your braids is dusty, man.
Oh,
like,
man, he had the Jim Jones braids.
Yeah, looked like he gained about 15 pounds. James Harden gained. Like I was like, come on, man. But I can't lie. I've been eating well too. So, but no, I was thinking more like over the past decade or just in history about parity. But if you're talking about this season, I think that I'm gonna be real. I know, and people are entitled to feel how they feel, about not liking the Nets. But I just feel like there's a level of, I don't want to alienate people, but I always just say keep it real. There's a level of cap, right? I believe, barring injury, the Nets are making the NBA Finals. But I've been consistent with that. They're making the NBA Finals because in my brain, in my process, how I break down the game, they have the requisite pieces needed.
Right.
But yes, they did lose on the defensive end, but their offense is their defense. And I'll tell you this, it was early in the season, right? But after they acquired James Harden, they played the Milwaukee Bucks. Yes, it was the Milwaukee Bucks. And I believe Kyrie didn't play that game. It was just James Harden and KD. And when something like clicks, like it's probably like for you, when you see something, or even our friend, who's big on football, like Tar, like when something clicks, you're like, yo, this is the team. Like this is the team that's going.
Right.
James Harden D'd up, I believe it was Middleton or Giannis or something like that. Because people forget James Harden's kind of strong.
Right.
And he's 6'6", 6'5".
Yeah, 6'5".
And he just D'd him up. He wasn't even like chasing him around. Just the way he did it in the post defense. And something in my head, like a gear turn, I was like, that's it. I literally, like Ralph, I was like, that's it. I was like, they just have to give effort.
Right.
They don't even need to get 10 steals. They don't need to be number one team. I'm like, if they give effort, you're not, pardon my language, you're not effing with the team. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying, and that's why I keep saying injuries. And I get the first year head coach. That's why I leave it open for the table that they could be beat in the finals.
Right.
They really could, and like you had the Clippers, and all that. But I'm like, this team, just their defensive effort. So, but I do feel like in the East, it actually kind of messed up the parity. And then my last point is this. I'm just going to address it. Super teams. Cause I see everything on social media and people, how they feel about the KD versus LeBron and all this other stuff without getting too deep. Bill Russell played with 11 Hall of Famers, 11 Hall of Famers, right? In the 8-team NBA. Was there parity when the Celtics were winning 11 championships and played one round to get to the NBA Finals and win? Okay, come on now. When Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, there was no parity in the 80s like that. The Bulls, Jerry Krause, now he formulated the team. I'm not knocking the Bulls. I think Jerry Krause was actually a pretty damn good GM, but he was full of himself, right? Jordan's mental leadership, as we saw in The Last Dance, was really what put them over the top. But he was able to get the requisite pieces.
Right.
But the Bulls, they three-peated twice, not once, twice. So when we look at parity, and then my team, we beat up on weak, inferior Eastern Conference teams. We went through a gauntlet. The Lakers with a three-peat.
Right.
So there's always been really some of the same teams that have been in the NBA Finals. You know what I'm saying? And it would have been the Lakers and Celtics 3 times in a row had KG got injured in 2009.
Right.
So if I agree with it, though, that's a whole nother discussion for another day because I don't want to go too long. But I do believe that in the Eastern Conference, at least, there's less parity. In the Western Conference, I think there's more parity because you have Lakers, Clippers, but I don't want to put it all on one guy, so I'm not going to say PG, but there's a hump because due to history that the Clippers have to get over, so they could lose to like the Nuggets or you get what I'm saying? So I just think the parity's in the East, man. I think parity's more.
I do think like
in the West.
I agree with you. Like going into the season, I would have said that there's parity, but the one thing I do want to bring up.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, man.
and I seen Blake Griffin bring this up, and I was talking to my mom about this.
Yeah.
Prior to him and LaMarcus Aldridge going to the Nets, nobody was talking about them being good players.
Facts.
Like everybody was like, they're pretty much calling them washed, they're trash, and you heard all these words. Now all of a sudden, when they get to the Nets, now they're like, oh my God, this is unfair.
Yeah.
Like, were they trash before or were they not?
Like they got prime C-Web.
Right, and so like I looked it up. LaMarcus Aldridge was averaging 14, 5, and 2. Blake Griffin was averaging 12, 5, and 3.
Hell no.
So they weren't putting up blazing numbers, but also
right.
one to kind of counteract my argument at the same coin or same token, when you're asked to be one or two option, number one or number two option, it's different than coming in and you have a KD, Kyrie, and James Harden who are you definitely are not getting double covered.
That's true.
In no facet of the game. So it's like because you're not gonna single cover Kyrie, you're not gonna single cover KD, you're not gonna single cover James. So if you're on the court with either one of them two, either one of those three, the game is just so much easier. So at that point, that's why you'll see a Blake Griffin who went and got, what do you have, 17 or 5?
Yeah, that
days
like
ago.
Just last game, whatever, something like that.
Right. So like with that, I do think it's kind of funny that people are looking and being like, oh, this is not fair. When we were just having a conversation of whether or not they were even good players anymore. So like I think that's kind of funny. But like to go back, I do think that parity, it's not one of those things that like now with there not being any parity that there's like whatever in like it's not just this not being any parity. It's nothing new. It's been around for forever. Like you said, the Celtics won how many titles with how many Hall of Famers?
Right. Yeah, 11 Hall of Famers.
Right. And then even when you go back to the 80s, it was the Celtics and Lakers in the finals almost every year. Then after that, it was like if it wasn't the Lakers, it was the
the Bulls. Oh no,
if it wasn't the Celtics, it was the Pistons.
Right.
And then after that, then the Bulls run 3 straight.
Pistons.
Houston wins 2.
Yeah.
And then the Bulls come back and win 3 more. So it's
more.
like, and then after that, that's when the Spurs run.
Yeah. The Spurs, because the Spurs were the one team, dynasty team that just never won that back to back. But they were still a dynasty, right?
Right.
Like you had to go through the Spurs, bro. So and then look at the I was gonna say you know this being the Eastern Conference, man. Like I respect Ben Wallace and Chauncey Billups as a Laker fan. Like that really hurt. Right. But they went to, I'll give you guys a stat, 6 straight Eastern Conference Finals after that. Right. And people forget that they played the Spurs and almost won. They pushed them to 7 games in 05.
Right.
So people remember the 04 Pistons. Man, the 05 Pistons could have won.
Right.
So we talk about parity. Yeah, I'm piggybacking off what you said, bro. Yeah. Man.
And then I seen in the comment section, Tar. Shout out to my boy Tar. As when do you believe is the best time to ring chase? Now, at this point, I do believe that, and I've seen this, a lot of players are being judged on not winning rings. You see, like we talk about this all the time. The conversation now is Dame Lillard, but before it was like Chuck. Like a lot of Charles Barkley's accomplishments are diminished all the time on social media, and you see Shaq diminishing it all the time.
Facts.
That because he didn't win a ring. So it's like now, like when do you? Because now we're seeing like Tar brought up, the common age is 27. Right around 27, we start being like, bro, you got to get me out of here. I got to do something in the playoffs, or at least be able to be competing. And so, when do you think it is? Is it okay to ring chase, or at one age?
So I actually love this question because I've actually seen this question recently appear as well other places, but it's a great question, Tar. I was going to say this. With the ring chasing, I'm going to just answer straight up. I believe in generational wealth. As I've gotten older, priorities and things of that nature, and my favorite player was Kobe. I know you're a Michael Jordan fan, so I believe in competition. I would never sacrifice competition. I love to compete. That's just how I was brought up and how they were, But I also believe in generational wealth, and so I think when you're young, right, get as much money as you can. Right. Because it's not going to be promised to you when you get older, you get an injury. Right. Get as much money as you can. So that means you're on a bad team. They give you the contract. Okay, cool.
Give me the bag.
But I think
give me the loot.
Right, give me the loot. Get money. but it's like, but then I think you said 27. I was like, that's beautiful age, I think. Right. Because you're actually at your what they consider your apex, and then you have like 3 or 4 years if you're like LeBron, you have like 5 more years of your prime after that. So I think 27 is actually a good age.
Right.
Because looking at Andre Drummond, right?
Right.
People forget Andre Drummond seems like he's been in the NBA for a while, but you're only 27.
Right.
Like you're only 27. So you still have some of that athleticism, there. So I actually think 27 is a good to go to a contender.
Right.
For me, ring chasing, I feel because the terminology ring chase, is that really regulated to like super teams or just any team that's just like a contender for a championship? Would you say it's like
me when I just say contender. Like I wouldn't say no super team because there's been I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but like when the Lakers when they had Shaq and Kobe.
Okay.
Like Glenn Rice was technically ring chasing.
Oh hell yeah.
And so like that, but that's that. But I wouldn't look at that Lakers team and say they're a super team.
Right.
But like they definitely were going to be contending for titles for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And so like I'm not saying, and I don't want to say that ring chasing is bad because by all means, I mean we're all it's a competitive sport.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you should be trying to win a championship.
And I think to your point, I think it also depends on like your unfortunately it is what it is, but your role too. So
Right.
if you're a role player like Mike Miller. You know
right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
Or Ray Allen leaving the Celtics to go to Miami. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So I think role players, it's not going to affect them as much as star or alleged superstar players. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
superstar players are held to a higher standard. You know what I'm saying? So like when I look at it like that, I think, I have no problem with you getting your rings, but I've said this before on another show or whatever. I was like, rings have weight. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm just going to mention bring KD up because I hear a lot of people say, oh, KD, no one respects his rings and all that. Sure, you don't have to respect his rings. Like
Right.
my thing is, I don't like the move he did to Golden State. What he's doing right now, even though it's shifting the balance and stuff like that, and he's kind of being petty on Twitter, but I get it, right? I'm not mad at him. It doesn't affect me. Sure, if he goes there, wins the championship and wins Finals MVP, bravo. I've said, and I've been consistent with this. I've said, I hope it works out. They get everything that they want. You know what I'm saying? I'm not wishing that they win the championship or lose, but I'm saying I hope they get everything they want because they put that together, right? And if it fails, they have no one to blame but themselves.
Right.
But rings do have weight. So I will count it. But just like there's carats, a 24 carat. You know what I'm saying? A 10 carat, get your girl a 10 carat or whatever, So I think they have weight.
Right.
Dirk's championship. Weight. Hakeem Olajuwon's weight. Kobe's, going to the grind without Shaq. It has weight.
Right.
And I'm not going to sit up here and say that, oh, this player's rings don't count. I think that's disingenuous. That's just how I personally feel. But, people don't have to feel that way. But that's how I personally feel. So when it comes to ring chasing, I just think it's different between the role players and the superstar players and how their legacy is perceived. So I think they just have to be cognizant of that. And are they going to be able to go to sleep at night and be happy with it?
Right. So. Yeah, I'm cool. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. And so with that, we're going to transition into some NFL. So
draft to receive Ravens.
The dust has settled as far as free agency. There are a plethora of older vets, but as far as like game changers, it's not that many, if any at all. Is there a free agent left on the market who you think can have a major impact on a new team?
Man. All right. Yeah, there is one. So I make a whole lot of money. All right. Look, man, you guys know how I feel about my boy AB. Come on, man. And I'm a Ravens fan, but I've always admired AB from afar as a talent. I know it's a sore spot. And you know what? I'm going to say this. If you are a Raiders fan, you have every single right to feel a certain type of way, because I can't be like, oh, your wounds are just healed. So it's still relatively early. I think anyone else is just capped. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Doing all. But AB, because Lamar Jackson is in desperate need of a receiver. And the thing is, he told management that he wanted AB, or at least put a word in, and Hollywood Brown's your cousin. You put AB in there, and it instantly helps my squad. And it's funny because I was actually engaging in dialogue with someone on Instagram on the Ravens page, and it was like, AB's not a wide receiver one anymore. I was like, hold up. Hit him with that Nate Dogg voice. I was like, look, He had over 100 catches, 1,300 receiving yards, 15 touchdowns in his last year with the Steelers, right? He goes to Oakland, goes crazy, doesn't fall off. There's no record of decline. Goes to the Patriots, right? Doesn't fall off, no record of decline. First game, scores a touchdown. Joins a team with an embarrassment of riches at the wide receiver position, some of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and you have multiple of them, and you're asked to play a role. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. And you're going to say that, oh, he's not a wide receiver one or he fell off. Where's your receipts? Where's your proof?
Right.
You know, so I think AB, and I think AB because a lot of people aren't really talking about him. So that's my first one. And then my second one, I'm looking at a Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney, I've always kind of said he was overrated, but it's his motor. If he's look, man, when his motor is going and if you put him in the right positions, you know, with like even when he was beside the JJ Watt, he can go to the Titans. He could go to the Ravens. You know what I'm saying? Teams of that ilk. I think he would make a huge impact if he's in the right position. But with him, it's the money situation. But I'm also looking at like the Melvin Ingrams and all the remaining edge rushers out there.
Yeah.
And I think they want 10 million plus. And so that's why I feel like teams are just kind of waiting to see how the market plays out. So I'm looking at Jadeveon Clowney and I'm looking at I want a whole lot of money.
Right.
AB. So yeah, free AB, man. Free AB, man. If I
think AB gonna go back
to Tampa, yeah, he's going back to Tampa, man. You know, Ravens ain't dealing with no AB, man.
Right, that's facts.
So yeah, man. They need to deal with AB, but you know, they think, you know, Sammy Watkins is the second coming of Julian Edelman. So yeah.
I mean,
he'll be nice in our offense.
I was gonna say I do think I'm not that I think that like Sammy Watkins is gonna come out there and get you for whatever, but like we said,
he's a nice slot receiver.
He's 28. He's about to be 28.
Right, yeah.
So it's not like he's old.
Right.
And even in a sense of like receiver years, he's not even old.
But he's not our number one receiver. If he is, I'm going to EDC's.
I don't think that's a bad thing, bro. Because like it's even like you would I'm sure as a Ravens fan, you would like him to get a top tier wide receiver.
Yeah, Rashad Bateman in the draft, man.
But like Sammy Watkins is no slouch, bro. It's just the fact that it's one of those things where you play on a team where there's one ball.
Right.
Like it's different from basketball because it's like I can still control my outcome, but I still need you to throw me the ball.
But see,
and so it's like I'm looking at his targets.
Right.
Like, what's he supposed to do if he's only getting the ball thrown to him 55 times?
Against the third best cornerback, though. That's the thing.
But you're still only getting the ball thrown to you 55 times. Right, it doesn't matter if you catch all of them.
That's true.
That's still only 55 catches.
Yeah, that's true. But watch this. Guess you said there's only one ball, right? And usually receivers, when they have that problem, it's because that other person's getting catches. Well, that one ball is going to be in Lamar's hands, running it a couple times, 15 times. Then it's going to go to Gus Edwards about 12 times. This is going to go to J.K. Dobbins about 25 times. Then it's going to probably go to Greg Roman, to demonstrate on the sideline how we need to run the ball more. You know what I'm saying? So Sammy Watkins isn't going to really get many touches, man.
But then at the like last week
we run the ball.
But crazy. Then last week I looked, I went and I broke down the amount of targets that Lamar's top receivers were getting. Yeah. Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews got 80 apiece.
Yeah,
which isn't like. It's not a crazy number, but you gotta believe that that Sammy Watkins is gonna get some of that.
Oh yeah, no, he's good, and my thing is, you asked me, I think, off air one time about the signing of Sammy Watkins, and I said that the best thing about the signing was actually the price.
Right.
We got him for $6 million, $5 million guaranteed. Right. He's a price, and he's a wide receiver 3 who can produce at high end wide receiver 2 numbers,
right,
if healthy. Right. And he has a skill set, and he was a number one, wide receiver 1 in out of Buffalo,
right,
or out of Clemson. Going to Buffalo, where 6 years ago he had over 1,000 yards. And he was able to score, and Greg Roman knows how to use him. So that's why some of the Ravens fans are excited. But I try to tell them to temper their expectations, because then there's always the delusional side of fans where they really think that this dude is the second coming of Tim Brown. So I'm like, no, that's not the case, man.
Yeah. I just want to give my man. I just want to give my man his flowers. Like he's no slouch. He's 28 years old. He's 6'1", 210. Mm-hmm. Like he's not small like the rest of their wide receivers. Like he's not a big receiver. You wouldn't describe him as a big receiver, but he's not. He's no small receiver, and he can take the top off the defense, get down the field.
And he's a veteran.
and he's a veteran receiver. So it's like I do think it's a great addition.
Yeah.
Especially compared to what I mean, he comes in day one as the best receiver there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like it's you can say it's whatever or talk about his receiver core, but I don't want to diminish who he is. But to go back to my point, I think someone like a Richard Sherman can do dividends for. And I don't have the numbers in front of me as far as just being a corner, but I do think his experience and being a veteran in a locker room could be a great thing. We've seen older corners move to safety. So I'm curious to see if he does continue to keep playing, who he goes to. Does he move to safety? Does he stay a corner? Is he going to get a lot of playing time, or is it just I'm going to be a veteran leadership and teach these young players how to play at the level that I was at?
Facts. And he made it looks like he made was it like a Pro Bowl not last year but the season before remember they went to the Super Bowl. And
I want to say he was hurt this year.
Yeah,
That's
he
why
was.
He didn't play a lot.
I got the stats. He only played in 5 games. But the thing with him is his IQ, and I agree with you. If he played that safety position, that strong safety,
right?
Oh yeah.
Which is someone like the Raiders. Like I think that the Raiders would need someone on the other side of Abrams, and I like Abrams as a talent, but if we could get someone to help with that from the mental, the IQ part, the sky's the limit with someone like Abrams because he's clearly a hard hitter. He just puts himself out of position too much by being too aggressive.
Right. It's all about that IQ, man. I agree. And that locker room presence. Like he was helping even the receivers. Like when he first got to the 49ers, he was helping Goodwin. You know, he had burned him on a play and then he locked him up. And he was kind of, counseling him, talking about, hey, do this next time. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you, man.
And then with that, I was going to bring up Jadeveon Clowney because he's the same age as Sammy Watkins. And so with that, he's still young enough to where he can be a contributor, but like at what price? Because I'm like the price that you're looking for, you're not that, bro.
Yeah.
Like you're not any of these people that you think you're in the same tier as them.
Right. You're not Reggie White. You're not Aaron Donald.
Shoot, you're not even some of these people that's in the league now. Right. Like
Carlos Dunlap. No.
Right. You're in the same road as Carlos Dunlap. I could even argue Carlos Dunlap has been had a better career than you.
Yeah, he did. And I think he actually because see Carlos Dunlap is trying to get 100 sacks. He says, I want to play on a contender, and I'm almost to 100 sacks. So he has motivation. He has a goal every game. And I think he was sitting at like 86 or 88 sacks. So he's only a few sacks away. So he wants to get that. I don't know what Jadeveon Clowney's goal is outside of money. But like I said, generational wealth, hey, but, he's always seeking the contract, man. Right. Do you want to win?
You've been doing that your whole career, bro.
Right,
I feel like we just said at the last segment, at 28, you should be at least looking at going after rings. You should already secured your bag.
Right. Yeah.
And so I want to see who he goes to.
Shermanator.
And what am I looking at right now? So I'm looking at his sack totals, and he's only had 32 sacks.
Yeah. And also scheme, but the thing is you're playing alongside what was it? JJ Watt. So it's like you should be eating.
I do think they majority of his career, and I'm looking, they had a lot of times they played him at the right linebacker in the 3-4 defense.
Oh yeah. He would stand up.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't think that was ever like how he was supposed to be, how he was supposed to be utilized. I do think that they've been putting him playing him out of position.
Yeah.
Me and Tar talk about this all the time with players being signed and then bringing them in and using them for a different position that they're not built for, or a lot of times they never even trained at that position. I've been playing corner all my life, and then I've been playing safety all my life, and then when I signed with you, now I'm your slot corner. Like, wait a minute, right. Like, relax. That's not what I came here for. Yeah. And so, I'm kind of curious. With that, after that there's a big trade that just happened. As far as the draft day, involving Miami 49ers and the Eagles. I'm gonna read this off to you guys.
Okay.
Miami got in the 2021 draft. They got the number 6 pick. I want to say they were the ones that had the third pick, right?
Let's see.
Do you remember?
Miami got, let's see, selections. Excuse me. It says, 2022 first rounder, third rounder.
Yeah. So they moved back.
Yeah, the Dolphins had a third pick though.
They moved back
The
to the number
49ers.
6 pick, and they get the number 156 pick, which is a fourth rounder. They also get in 2022. They get a first rounder and a third rounder. The season hasn't happened yet, so we don't know what numbers what draft pick that's going to equal out to. The 49ers get that third pick, moving up in the draft. It's been a lot of speculation as far as whether or not they're going to hold on to Jimmy G or move on.
Please don't hold on to Jimmy G. Sorry, Jimmy G.
Hey, Jimmy G's my dude. But for another reason that has nothing to do with football.
Right.
Shout out to my guy. But the Eagles get the number 12 pick moving back in the draft, and they also get the a third rounder coming out to the number 123rd draft pick. So who do you think won
All right.
this trade?
So I always love an embarrassment of picks, right? But I'm looking at these picks. I'm like, you got 2 first rounders in the next draft. Right. I'm going to go with Miami. The reason why because I haven't really got a chance to digest this, but I'm not even going by the quantity, right? I'm looking at the quality of the picks. So the 49ers, these first round picks, depending on what their how they perform, I would assume would be pretty high, right?
Yeah.
So and the reason why I say that is because if you look at their division, right? Look at the division right now. Okay. So their division has I believe Chandler Jones and JJ Watt on the same team in Arizona, with the best receiver or the second best receiver, if you want to say Devontae Adams is the best receiver, but DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray, right? So I expect them to be a playoff team, and no one will get hurt this time around. They'll be a playoff team. I'm looking at the Rams. They've upgraded from Jared Goff, and got Matthew Stafford, okay? And he has a defense. All they needed was a competent quarterback, quite frankly. They didn't need Bart Starr or Dan Marino. They got a competent quarterback and the best defense out there. Okay, cool. And then Seattle is always a tough team. They once again made the playoffs. They just need to fix their offensive line. Okay. And I'm not quite sure if Carlos Dunlap re-sign with them. I know they released him, but I have to check up on that. I don't want to give out false information. Okay. But I'm seeing that. And I'm like, okay, the division, I don't like the 49ers. The 49ers got injured last year. They lost pieces, but they're getting a number 3 pick. They have a chance to get the right quarterback at that pick, but you're still developing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at the right now and the right here. They're not going to be winning like 12 games next season. I don't project them to win 12 games next season. So I'm looking at Miami and I'm like, I'm liking what I'm seeing because you got a first rounder that could be potentially high. And you got a third rounder, and you can always find good value within the third round. And I like what Miami has done with their team. They're not trying to just hold on to Ryan Fitzpatrick for the next 6 years. You know, they like Tua. They have Devontae Parker there. You know, they can bolster up that offensive line and things of that nature. So this can really help Miami, especially they need help at that safety position as well. So for me, I like what Miami's done. The Eagles, I'm looking at, they got a number 12 pick from the,
and they also got a first rounder next year.
Yeah, first rounder next year. That's pretty nice too. But the Eagles, you know, I don't know what they're doing, and just in terms of just like coaching wise, a lot of different things for other reasons. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Miami, man.
Yeah, I agree with you. As far if the 49ers can land their pick,
facts, that's what it is.
As far as the quarterback, because when you look at it, like their team, the only reason they are even drafting this high is because of injuries, and I think they might have been the most injury like impacted them the most. Yeah. Like from day one, you lose Nick Bosa, and then injury after that, to the point where, as well as Jimmy G not being the player you thought he was,
right.
All of that combined together, if you get those people back and you can upgrade the quarterback position from whoever you draft, like I seen today, Justin Fields balled out at his pro day, and so he ran a 4.3.
Yeah,
not 4.3.
No, 4.49 or 4.4. Yeah, something like that.
I want to say 4.43.
Yeah, something like that.
And with him being big, strong, quarterback while also being able to sling the ball down the field. You got a Trey Lance,
I like Trey Lance.
Zach Wilson.
I like Trey. I didn't say I love him. I like him in the right situation.
I'm very. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
When you only play for one season.
Okay.
Like I need to see more film. And
body of work.
And right. you're when with Trey Lance, it's like he's not even playing these top tier teams. And I want to say he played a really good team in that one season, and I don't know if they won but I want to say that he played very well.
No, that's good.
I think he's undefeated, so I think they did win. But I can't say who that team is off the top of my head, but I want to say that outside of, and I honestly, with Trevor Lawrence, if you ask my personal opinion, I just don't believe the hype. Like, it's just because you come in from when you were a freshman and you win a title against Alabama. Damn. Look at the team that you played. Damn. That you played with. Then on top of that, I'm very what do you say? I get a little upset when talking about this. His sophomore year, he plays Ohio State. We get a bogus call that ends up putting them back in the game when we were winning by 10 points at that point.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then we're supposed to get the ball back. They call targeting, give them the ball back when he's a 6'5", 6'6" quarterback, and the person that's tackling him is 5'10". He ducks down, they make helmet-to-helmet contact, kick my boy out, and then give them the ball back when they're supposed to be punting after that, after being sacked. And so it's like that whole thing. Now he goes to another championship. He ends up losing, but then I've just seen enough that I'm just like, I don't know, man.
Right.
I think he's still. I don't think that he's so much further beyond than that, than anybody else in this field. It's so.
Also, you got to look at.
That's an interesting comment, Tar. Urban Meyer is going to coach him.
I see that was
slightly scary.
See, and I'm glad you brought that up, Tar, because that was going to be my next thing. It wasn't even just about the coaching of Urban Meyer. I was looking at, and God rest his soul, but the health of Urban Meyer,
right? Because
remember, it was the health of Urban Meyer that caused him, to have to, resign and things of that nature. So I remember I was listening to even like NFL Network, and they were talking about, is he going to even be able to make it through a full season?
Right.
So we have to be very cognizant of those types of situations that you're going into, those scenarios where your coach could be up in the air. And Trevor Lawrence, he's accustomed to winning football games. You're going to what I call a poverty franchise, a franchise that has been in purgatory since before whatever, you know what I'm saying? I mean, when I think of the Jaguars, I don't think of Byron Leftwich. I think of Mark Brunell, man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That was really the good quarterback they had. And I was a kid. So, I was a kid back then.
They had a squad back then.
Yeah, and they had Keenan McCardell, and Jimmy Smith, Tony Boselli on left tackle, man. Yeah. Fred Taylor, Mr. Fred. I'm not scared of linebackers, Taylor.
Nah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's my dude, too. Shout out to Fred Taylor.
Yeah, Fred. Yeah, so
give him his flowers.
Yeah,
give him
his
flowers. He should be in the Hall of Fame, too.
Give him his flowers, right? And
over 10,000 yards running.
AFC, that was back when the AFC North was.
They had thumpers.
Yeah, thumpers. Jerome Bettis, was there. Eddie George, and you had Ray Lewis at linebacker. But anyway, Levon Kirkland. But so you're going to a poverty franchise, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Sorry, Jags fans, do not hate me. I'm just keeping it real. You probably called it that before as well.
Right.
So
Duval.
Yeah. So is he really set up for success? So
right.
So you got to look at that even beyond just his skill set. So. Yeah.
And so like with that, like, man, I'm looking forward to it. I think next week we're gonna dabble into that a little bit more.
Okay.
Into detail. As far as who we like, who we think is the best quarterback out of all of those picks. But we're gonna use this last little bit of time we have left. There's a college basketball March Madness. The NCAA tournament is currently going on right now.
Never heard of it.
No. In the women's bracket, South Carolina is smacking Texas by 23 points currently. Gonzaga is beating the brakes off of USC currently. Did you get a chance to watch the game yesterday?
Yes, I did get a chance to watch the game yesterday. I thought both. Actually, I think in terms of just looking at the games in whole, the teams like Gonzaga did not surprise me, man, because I thought that, like I said in a previous show, Gonzaga is a team, real NBA talent, right?
Right.
They have talent, they have depth, but they also have coaching.
Right.
Okay, someone who's actually been there before, hasn't just lost in the Final Four, has a propensity to lose in the Final Four. Like Gonzaga was my team all the way through
Right.
at the beginning of the tournament, but now I'm having some reservations of that.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
The reason why is because, do you believe in teams of destiny?
Yeah.
Do you believe that, I know this is NBA, but do you believe that the 2011 Mavs, when Jason Terry got that tattoo on his arm, and I remember the Lakers had just come off their third straight trip to the finals, back-to-back champions, and, in the back of my mind, I was like, how could they lose? And Jason Terry's like, I guarantee we're winning the championship. And I thought that was very intriguing, but he
Right.
said it. But then they go out and shoot over 80% from three and pretty much which is insane, by the way.
Right.
And then he could have been the finals MVP, by the way.
Right.
But they just tore through KD, Kobe, and all that. So I believe in teams of destiny, right?
Right.
So I'm looking at this Michigan team. Michigan team. Juwan Howard was actually the first NBA player I ever saw as a kid, no cap. And I believe that he is coaching his behind off so hard to get these kids, to the national championship game to make up for the greatest atrocity in sports history. I know I always say that. I just like saying that, which was C. Webb calling that damn timeout versus Tar Heels. See, like how I did that,
I see what you did there, brother. I see what
so
you did
I'm
there,
like,
brother.
that is the greatest atrocity. Michigan got robbed all because of C. Webb. And so Juwan Howard can't sleep at night. He wakes up in cold sweats. And he's like, these kids aren't going to make He's like, I ain't losing as a coach, man. You know what I'm saying? So think about it. This is a team of destiny, man. And I'm starting to look at it and I'm like, man, Mark Few, man, something about Gonzaga. Watching Michigan going to go up there and two-piece combo them, man.
So
like that.
are you willing to you don't step out on that branch and take back your pick and say Michigan's winning it all?
Well, I already filled the bracket, bro. I'm not challenged.
But you had Gonzaga winning, so
Yeah,
they're still in there, strong too.
Strong Gonzaga, right? But I believe in teams of destiny.
So Michigan, it is.
Yeah, Michigan.
All right. I do. The one thing I do think is interesting.
Watch me change my mind 5 minutes later.
Is if Michigan wins the amount of number ones that are in the Final Four.
Right.
Is the one thing I thought was interesting because that's not something that typically happens. It's not normally that amount of number one seeds, and so. I don't know, man. Gonzaga's winning by 20 right now, and I don't think any of their games have been that close.
Yeah, that's true. But
so that's the thing that kind of makes me worried.
Right, but then Michigan could be that game that's close.
Right, it's possible. It is possible. And so, I don't know. I had Gonzaga in the championship game. So,
but you had them losing,
and I had them losing to the team that lost already.
Right,
so the fact that they're in it, I'm still. Gonna pick them because they I had them in the game, so I got to ride with my bracket.
Right,
Gonzaga.
I want you guys to know that I don't normally hedge bets and jump off. I don't even really bet, but you know what I'm saying.
Jump ship,
jump ship like that.
Homie jumped.
Right. Because so don't be coming for me if Gonzaga beats Michigan by 42 points. They're like, man, Kai, what were you talking about last show?
Right. I'm definitely gonna bring it up.
Yeah, this dude
I got it on film too.
This
so
dude was smoking dust. What was going on? Money.
Yo,
we'll roll the film.
I'm gonna go with I think it ended up being Gonzaga's gonna win it all.
Right, man.
Gonzaga's gonna play. If Michigan wins, they're gonna play Michigan.
Right.
And then I think Gonzaga's gonna win it all.
It could be the greatest. It could be the greatest college basketball team, not team, but game that we've seen. Though you never know.
You never know. Yeah, it's been some really good ones, man. That I think the one that I go to when I think the greatest game is the was that North Carolina Villanova championship game. That was a heck of a game, man. Like they was going back and forth. They was out there hooping, man. They was giving it all. Came down to a buzzer beater. And once homie crossed over, I want to say that was it Arakanu or
one of them guys.
I can't think. He played for the Bulls right now. Shout out to the homie. I don't know your name. But homie crossed over at half court and kicked. Once he crossed over, I was like, oh, it's a wrap, bro.
Yeah,
it's a wrap.
Coast.
He gave it to the homie. Homie was able to step into it in rhythm. Once that ball was in the air, I was like, oh, it's a wrap, baby.
Right.
Let's get out of here. And it sucked too because I was actually rooting for Tar Heels.
Hey,
You have a favorite game,
I was gonna say I have a couple different games, but I don't want to sound like crazy, but I
and then
almost
we don't get
forgot.
up out of here.
Kemba Walker, he did win a championship where he was actually the
Yeah,
biggest.
yeah.
So Kemba Walker won. That was crazy. My favorite one is always going to be, I'm biased because I'm from Maryland. Juan Dixon, man,
Oh,
Steve
yeah.
Blake, you know what I'm saying? All them, Lonnie Baxter, the
Chris Wilcox too.
yeah, Chris Wilcox, all them Maryland, you know, back in believe was 2002 now. Yeah.
Wasn't Steve Francis on that team the year before?
No, oh, yeah, he was before. He was like a couple years
I
before
was gonna
that.
say I thought he was like literally the
Yeah.
year he graduated, not graduated. The year he left, the next year they won.
I think it was actually no. Well, I think he was 2 years before that.
Oh,
He was
okay.
2 years. But I was going to say that one, Melo's as a freshman at Syracuse. I was actually watching that against Kansas with an old boy who was actually has his number hung up. I think he's in like the OKC Hall of Fame. Nick Collins. Yeah, Nick Collins. So Melo was murking them. Mario Chalmers shot, you know, and then watching Duke versus with Sam Decker and Frank Kaminsky. Wisconsin, because Wisconsin that was like that last team that stayed like 3-4 years together. Right. So I like that. The Duke team that beat Butler, that was a good game, but that was horrible. So
I just got one name.
Yeah.
Mateen Cleaves.
Oh, Mateen Cleaves. That's our boy's favorite player, man.
Hey, dog, he hooped in college, though.
Cleaves.
Yeah, he did not do anything in the league, but, bro, did he hoop in college? Him and Mo Pete?
Facts. They gave him like a 47 overall, like NBA live.
Bro, yeah, they did him dirty. They didn't have to do my mans like that. Yeah. But, yeah, it was fun, y'all. Thank you all for watching. Man. Thank you all. Love you guys. Shout out to the homie Tar doing the damn thing.
Shout out to you, man.
But you can catch us on Instagram. Just type in HeSaySheSay Sports Show.
And you can catch me at @the.house of hoops. Once again, that's @the.house of hoops for all types of player highlights, NBA analysis, and breakdowns.
And then you can catch me on Instagram as well at KYNGRALPH. I will soon be doing a music vlog and as well giving my opinion on a bunch of things. Thank you all for watching.
Have a wonderful day. Peace.
Holler.